Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today. Welcome to Charcha Series 2, a panel discussion where impact sector leaders discuss the challenges and opportunities in social sector. We are all very excited to have you here. NGOStory is an impact storytelling and consulting organization which aims at branding small NGOs, thereby helping them build credibility. All our impact talk shows, awards event, mentoring program, and upcoming opportunities are oriented towards empowering grassroots nonprofits. We at NGO Story believes in opportunities oriented towards collaborative and synergized growth. With that aim in mind, we are conducting this panel discussion so we learn from our peers and seasoned impact leaders. So first of all, let me just introduce all of our panelists. So we have Ms. Avni Aaron. She's the co-founder of Hum Honge Kamyab Foundation, through which she has been working on spreading awareness, building accessibility, and advocating for data security in India's move towards digital integration in public healthcare. She is also a lawyer researching an intersection of technology policy and law on issues of access, surveillance, and internet governance. Next, we have Ms. Sumaya Afrin here. She is the co-founder of Lakshya Jeevan Jagriti. She possesses 14 years of social entrepreneurship experience and has worked in the education and skill training sector. Our other panelist is Mr. Kunal Shah. He is the co-founder of High on Life Foundation. He is also currently serving as a youth advisory board member, UNICEF India and UVA, and also curator of Global Shapers Community, an initiative of World Economic Forum. Again, welcome to the discussion today. We are very excited to have each of you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So to start with our discussion, first of all, I would like to ask Sumaya, ma'am. Ma'am, while pitching a project to the funders, it is very important that funders connect with our cause. So one should have an effective storytelling skill to pitch in front of the donors. Can you share your thoughts on this?
I mean, yes, I would say what we as a social organization, being a non-profit, we sell stories only, right? We only tell people that how, people are transforming from one place to another place, how we are actually becoming the part of their journeys of transformation. So we tell all these, stories to people, to all the stakeholders who are involved in our organizations. So first of all, storytelling is the only way I would say to actually connect with people if you are in social sector. Second, being a founder, you also need to tell your story as well. You have to be vulnerable enough, or maybe create a connect with the other person by your own story. How did you come to become a social entrepreneur? How did you actually get into this field? What was the one motivation factor that that making you intact with the cause that you are working? So your story first is very important to people to know that who you are, why you are doing it, and what is the most important thing in your life in the next 5 years, 10 years, that what do you want to do. So that is the one story that you really need to tell to your audience, be it funders, be it stakeholders, be it your beneficiaries as well, that why. Second is like all the beneficiaries that we are working with, they have their own stories. So we connect with them personally, we connect with the donors by telling their stories. And you are a window, basically. Your organization is a window. The people coming from very fortunate backgrounds have, privileged, they have been privileged and they have resources. And the other person who really need that support, and you being an organization, you're a window so that they can actually see what is happening on the ground, what is the reality on the ground. So in my experience, when I was actually raising fund for the COVID relief work when in 2020, so when I was sharing these stories of the people on the platform, that was the only thing that people were actually got connected to us personally. That okay, this is a story that I read on your Facebook, I read on your WhatsApp, that why I really want to help this person. So that those were the time when people were connecting with each other only by because we were able to tell those stories from the ground directly, that this is happening, kindly connect with us. And that is the reason we were able to connect more donors, more supporters for the community that we work with. So we used to have individual donors at that point of time before COVID, like 20, 30 individual donors. But since we started the campaign by telling the stories of the on the ground, so we were able to collect around 700 to 800 donors, individual donors, that point of time during COVID. Because what I really what really worked was again telling the life stories from the people, bringing the people to the to the screens so that they can also interact with the donors. So that was a time that I feel that this was the most powerful tool that worked. And I believe that if I tell my story, I also belong from the same middle class family, went to the Hindi medium school. I hardly, went to a college which was, regular. I did my schooling from a very low income school. And I was a part of distance learning program during my college. I started when I was 19. I started this organization when I was 19 years old. So I lived a journey from, from being a student to created an organization and created programs in the organization. And I got the opportunity to travel around the world because of the work I do. So this is the story I tell everybody, that transformation is anybody can actually create, bring out the true potential from themselves. And that's the work of my organization as well. No matter which background you come from, no matter which whether you have resources or not, you can actually transform your life from anywhere, and you can start from any time in your life. So stories are the only powerful tool which can actually connect you with people, no matter what.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for sharing those thoughts. So, any of you would like to add to it? Okay, ma'am, Kunal sir, anyone?
Yeah, I mean, see, when we are working in the social development sector, it is the part that we are the face of the society, we are the face of the beneficiaries, and we have to tell their stories. And stories work in a much powerful way than in a traditional way they used to do, that we are doing this, we are doing this. But now they want to hear from the people whom you are impacting, whom you are working with. They want to listen to them, that what change they have felt. And that is the most impactful thing. That's why in the NGO sector or the social development sector, storytelling is a crucial part, even for getting the fundings, and even for getting the support for whatever change you want to get, whether it can be from the community, whether it can be from the government, or whether it can be from various stakeholders. So I totally agree that storytelling and telling a story itself is full of emotions, because in the social development sector, when you work, you're working with marginalized communities, you're working with the vulnerable people who are not included in the general decision making or even in the society. So their story has a personal touch, their stories has an emotion. And our whole social development sector works on emotion. We are working in the social development sector because we care for the society, we want to give something to the society, and that really creates an emotional connect. And that is the thing which actually also pursues our funders to give us the funding, because they also want to be a part of our journey, be a part of the change which we want to bring in the society. So yeah, yes, I totally agree that storytelling and storytelling in a way that it can fetch you funds, it can fetch you credibility, and it can fetch you more impact is a very important thing when we are working in this social development sector.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, ma'am.
Yeah, I mean, these thoughts really resonate very deeply with me also, because it's undeniable that as a social impact worker, storytelling is going to be one of the strongest tools that you can use. And I mean, what Sumaya ma'am said about, this being the tool to bring your background to the table, to talk about why you're doing this work and what it is that you're trying to achieve, is best achieved through storytelling over any jargon that you can use or any other, like, just presenting information won't work out as much as telling the stories behind why you're doing and what you're actually doing with. And I mean, also what Kunal sir is saying about like how this, it's not just about funders. This is a tool for you to communicate your problem statement. And it is a tool for you to communicate what solutions you've come up with and how your models work or don't work. So, I mean, you can communicate the sustainability of your solutions through it. You can show that your processes work and they've worked repetitively for different scenarios in different places for a diverse set of beneficiaries. And I also agree that this isn't just about the funders and marketing and the support that you can get. It's also a tool that is very important for you to reach out to the community itself, to appeal to the beneficiaries in terms of what you're doing, especially when you're doing work that is on the ground and that relates very closely to a community. A narrative approach in your work is very important for them to feel safe in this environment, for them to feel safe in receiving this help and assistance that you're trying to provide. I mean, just as an anecdote, even with the work that we were trying to do with HHK during the pandemic, it was this narrative approach that allowed us to, collaborate with a very diverse set of stakeholders that weren't directly working on the ground, that were directly working for the health sector, but finding this common narrative of working towards the pandemic and achieving health for all is what ended up appealing to people to collaborate on very different levels and very diverse levels. So this is a tool that will take your work from the most basic level to something as a larger picture, something that is towards a common goal where everybody can relate to it no matter where they're coming from. So this is absolutely agree with these thoughts.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing your valuable thoughts here. So moving on to our next question. My next question is to Krunal, sir. So now every organization is becoming data-driven. How much do you think the development sector has adapted to this change, and how much potential it have to change the development sector?
See, if I talk about the comparison of post-COVID and pre-COVID things, see, pre-COVID things also, the data was an important and integral part of any of the NGO or any of the social impact organization, because in the development sector, when we are working for a cause which is impact driven. We have to show the impact, and that impact could be through anything. When we are working with the beneficiaries on ground and everything, we listen to their stories, we work for them, we talk about their problems, we work for their solutions, each and everything. But on the paper we cannot write that things. We have to write the data, that economically how many people have been benefited, how many people have been uplifted, how many people have gained knowledge, XYZ. All these data are very much important, because it adds to the evidence that you are doing something concrete and you are doing something which is sustainable, which is going to help, and which is a very good example for other people to follow, or for even it can be for the state governments as well, or it could be for anyone. Because in the social development sector, we have to take the decisions which are evidence based. We cannot take because if I get a $1 billion funding and I don't know where to invest it, I will lose it. So you must have some data in your hand in whatever sector you are working. And post COVID, we all have understood that how data plays an important role, because you have to also persuade your clients, you also persuade your all the donors, and you have to also work that why the problem exists. When we talk about the problem, let me give a very good example. I was working I was on a 3-month internship at Dang, which is one of the most backward areas of whole India. At that time there was no data available that why the problem is existing. There was no data that how many families are living below the poverty lines, or who are having the cards, ration cards, or any. There was no data available there. And because of that, the government schemes, the facility of the government schemes, or the benefits of the government schemes were not available to them. So when I went there, I worked with 2 or 3 other colleagues and with the government to set up that we should create a data bank, that why this district is backward. First of all, we need to understand the problems. We need to understand, and that could be only understand by the data. Without data we cannot, because we all know that whenever we pitch our projects or any of our proposals, we have to show that what impact we have done. And when we have to talk about impact, the impacts are in numbers. It is also about the testimonies. I agree that it is also about testimonies, but the numbers are more important. And for that numbers, you have to work with them. You have to understand their problems, that why are this they are facing the such problems, and quantify them, that okay, this is the problem and this would need this much amount of money to solve this problem. Because we have seen the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, okay, there are n number of donors out there, n number of funding has been given, but we still see the face of the education in our whole country, because it is not a data driven thing. It is just haphazardly the people are the agencies are giving the money and they are doing the things, but we are not seeing a concrete result out of it. But if we see that $1 billion is kept in Aadhaar, we can clearly see what change it has brought. We have seen the LPG subsidies, we have seen the ration card systems when it has been digitalized. So when this type of data are available, also the decision makers are able to do a good campaigning, and they can advocate for your ideas. So data is very much important. And secondly, data in the social development sector is because it also helps you in effective management of the interventions which you are doing. Whatever intervention I'm doing with my community, if I am not having the data that how many people are impacted, what impact has taken place, I cannot sustain it. I cannot I cannot show it to the people. I cannot publish it. So that is the most important thing when we talk. And in the social development sector, when we work about the NGOs, see, many of the NGOs have started working on technology, on Excel sheets and many other things, but still there is a lot scope where we can improve our potential. There is a lot of potential out there, because if we see at the big companies, they are totally artificial intelligence driven XYZ. But in the social development sector, still you can say that there are some traditional approaches still dominant, and we need to break that. Because in the traditional approaches, it was very much you can say that we were able to do that earlier, but now in this fast world, we have to work fast. We have to submit our reports XYZ. So data is the most important, and data is the oil for all the NGOs in the social development sector. With what they can show that what impact has been created, and by that they can actually help the beneficiaries out there.
Okay, sir. Thank you for sharing that. To know why data is more important in development sector and how much potential it has. My next question is to Avni ma'am. Ma'am, with digitalization, do you think that the development sector should focus on using a CRM software or any SAT platforms or any technological tool for data efficiency? Again, connected to the previous question. So what is the relevance of that?
Okay, thank you for that question. And I'll restrict my response to small scale NGOs because that's the perspective that I can bring to the table best. But I completely agree with Krunal. I mean, in that it's really hard to escape any kind of like software as a service technologies in businesses today, no matter what level you're working on. This could be for website builders, publicity solutions. Even, I mean, sometimes these softwares will be relevant to the core work of the NGOs also. But in particular, talking about CRM softwares, I think this is an important conversation because in a sense, your CRM softwares are to keep track of your contacts, right? And every organization needs that on some level. But what becomes more important is to consider what aspect of this software you can use for what part of your service. And I mean, depending on what your causes are, it's important to consider where you need higher customization, higher personalization, and a more individual, focus, considering when there are sensitive causes, you need to interact with donors in a more personal level. More importantly, when the work is, a little difficult to manage, it'll be important to talk to your volunteers in a more personal level. So you have to think about where you can use these softwares best and where it is important to bring that individual touch to the work importantly. Apart from that, data efficiency and showing your outcomes is also something that you can achieve through CRM softwares, right? Because you understand where you're working, you use the data that you've collected, and then you study what your impact has been to understand what the customized changes need to be to your work. And this sort of analysis is very important, especially right now in the attention economy, because that's how you can have targeted approach to the work that you're doing. You can targetedly approach the donors with what will appeal to them and what are the causes that they feel strongly about and how you can respond to that. So that interaction becomes much more meaningful when there is a dedicated analysis that goes behind it. And using these tools, it elevates the level that you can do this work at. However, that said, it's about striking a balance between the resources that you have at your scale and using the technology and resources that are available in the market. So we need to figure out how our focus, whether it needs to be on the ground and whether in the limited resources that you may have, you need to focus more on building your models, or whether you can think about scaling up at this level, whether you can think about investing your resources, not just monetary resources, even human resources. On a small level, I feel like a lot of NGOs have had this experience where one person will wear many hats, right? They'll do a lot of tasks. And at that point, we might want to leverage all of these technologies that provide brilliant solutions, but we don't have the human resource to, at this stage, leverage at this stage. So we have to strike that balance. And we need to remember that while there is definite need to talk about the free and open source resources, the kind of industry specific resources that are built for NGOs these days, even in terms of CRM software specifically, we can think about how you can integrate it in the initial level using free resources, maybe using collaborations as corporate social responsibility for those organizations. You can reach out in different ways. And while you start that work on a small level, we can try to integrate these technologies on a granular level, but as we build, we can scale up with them. And at every stage, it's important to ask ourselves why we're using the technologies where we're using and where they're helping us the most, instead of only moving towards it for the sake of digitization. So striking that balance can really bring out the most of the situation. And that's where we can use these technologies to increase our efficiencies, is what my take is.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing that with us. So my next question is to Sumaya, ma'am. Ma'am, there is always a dearth of direct opportunities to connect with CSRs, and there is no platform which nurtures the interest of both CSRs and NGOs. So what are your thoughts on having, like, there should be a centralized system in place to address this issue? What are your thoughts on this?
Yes, I feel yes, because there are there are lakhs of NGOs working in India, right? A lot of NGOs, they have different focuses. Some same with corporates, they have different, mandate as per their laws, that they want to work in education, whether they want to work in healthcare, and there is no such system where I can actually go and check whether these are the corporates which are aligned with the education or skill training program where I can approach easily, or there is no such platform where they can also check out NGOs who are generally working in particular cause where they want to invest in. So there are lack of, I would say, platforms. There are platforms where there are platforms which are available, like Give India gives a lot of visibility to NGOs, and there are a lot of other platforms also who actually gives visibility, but corporates are so there's one saying that which I also believe, that until or unless people believe in you, they won't give you money, right? So they didn't, if they don't trust you, they don't know you, so you cannot just randomly walk in a corporate office and ask for money. It's very difficult to fundraise from a corporate if they don't know the background, if they don't know any references from anybody. So it plays an important role if some platform is available there, and they do the little due diligence of the nonprofit, and they have this particular list of projects which can be visible particular platform where anybody can just look at it, and whether it's matching to their mandate, if they are interested to invest in those projects, they can easily do that. So there are tons of you know corporates who are looking for genuine partnership with NGOs, but I feel there's a gap between how to really approach these nonprofits and how these nonprofits can actually approach the right partner to select the right partner or select the corporate. So both ways, I think there's a gap, and there is no such platforms as such. They still need to we need to really work on the platforms as well, because there are very few of them which are available to which can actually help the both the parties mutually. So if there are maybe I'm not the right person who knows everything about those platforms. If maybe Kunal or Avani knows few platforms which can, I also feel that if we know something, we can also share with each other that how, or if some platform where we can also take advantage of. If anybody of you add on.
Now, sir.
Yes, so there is a like the platform which we like we don't we also face the same challenge that the corporates are not connected with the NGO, and we
Yeah.
always have to go around to the people for asking for the donations or projects or anything like that. But there are some platforms which we feel that okay, that has some potential, and that can be for first is the NGO box and the CSR box, which has a lot which helps you in posting your jobs as well, and getting the a right candidate. Second, it also invites tenders and ROIs for the different projects around the world. So there are many international as well as national projects which are listed there. And if you are eligible and if you want to apply, you can you can go there and apply for the same projects, as well as there are many opportunities for the fellowships and available there, which as a social development sector practitioner you can take up. So all these things are available, but there is of course there is a still there is a gap between a proper channel where we can directly connect with the
Corporates.
corporates. So there is no single channel, or even the government told that they will be creating a portal or something like that. That the Niti Aayog also tell, but still that is under development. I don't know, but in Gujarat, basically there is no single platform that we can connect to any of the corporate. It is just you can get the mails of the CSR heads of the different organizations, mail them your proposals, and if they are interested, they will contact you. Yes, this is the basic thing which we as an NGO do to get the projects or anything like that.
Yeah, same.
Okay, thank you, sir, for sharing that, and thank you, Sumaya ma'am, for sharing this about how like there is no platform as such for CSR and non-profits to.
Yeah, I think it's a pain point. I think there should be some, someone should come forward to create such platform where anybody can, just look into the projects or NGOs and check their credibility, and just even for the NGOs, we can actually check the company's corporate's name as per which area of interest they want to work in. So like we are working in skills and education, so it's very hard to actually find corporates, and then it's most of the we do cold calls and cold meetings generally to actually catch up on
And
corporates. Yeah.
adding to this, even this is a pain for the corporates as well. They have a lot of
True.
corpus. They have a lot of corpus, and they end up giving it to their known organizations because they are not finding any other organizations which are working in this domain, and because they are not knowing that organization because
Exactly.
they are not listed anywhere. So I, as an organization, if is working in one specific area, but the corporate is not knowing that I am, because they do not have that much time that they will go to the Google and find out and perfect. But if there is a common platform, even the corporate, it will make the task for the corporates also easy to look for the another NGOs and organizations to partner with, and use their funds, and also to build some fruitful collaborations.
Yeah, I also feel that corporates also have very limited team available
Yes.
for specifically working in CSR. They are not experts in CSR. They need support to create programs in CSR. I feel that because I have came across such teams where they were, they were working on different projects. Suddenly, they created a CSR team out of those, few employees who volunteered for the CSR team. So I think it's a pain point for corporate as well, that they also need, a little platform or little channel which where they can find the NGOs work and easily approach these NGOs.
And one thing which I have seen is that the even the corporates do, some of the corporate many of the corporates, I would say, don't know where to use their CSR funds. They just think that CSR is just and just about feeding the people and distributing clothes or anything like that. And that is the social work which the NGOs do. But there is a much more interventions which different type of NGOs do, especially with the kids or working on health
Right.
and nutrition, anything like that. So the concept of the CSR, even with the the big shot companies have their own team, but the small companies which have a limited fund, okay, they might have a fund of CSR 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs rupees. But for as an NGO, or even that 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs of
Yeah.
corpus is also a very big thing for
Yeah,
us. So even that market is
very
untapped.
huge. Yeah.
Right. Abhi ma'am, would you like to add something here?
No, I think this has been, working on a smaller scale as if now this is a very enlightening conversation for me and it's a learning experience. And I completely agree that there is need to build these conversations so that the gap gets identified and someone finds reasons in resources to fill that in. So working towards that centralized platform seems very important right now. And I think this is how we move towards it, by building conversations. So.
Yeah. Right. Thank you, ma'am. So my next question is to Kunal sir. Sir, human resources are the greatest asset in an organization. So it is very crucial to find right talent and also who resonate with our cause. Do you think that nonprofits need to spend more time and fun in recruitment of such talent? And what do you think is the most challenging in that area?
See, first of all, through your medium, I want to tell all the people listening that see, social development sectors or NGOs or anything like that, they are not just an organizations which are working on ground and everything, and they are not just looking for volunteers. First of all, and if they want to, if they are hiring anyone, they are looking at the long-term associations, because as an NGO, as an social impact organization, we also work like a company only. We also have our day-to-day reportings. We also have our day-to-day tasks which are going on, and we also have a lot of back-end things, whether it can be digital marketing of our social media channels, whether it can be about the content creation. So traditionally what the people were looking about, the NGOs were looking, where the people with BSW or MSW would only be eligible to apply for the jobs. Okay, but now the scenario has been changing. Even the person from MBA are working in the social development sector. Even a person from engineering background is, because because with the extent of the technology that is being increased, we need a website builder as well. We need an in-house content creator as well. We need a digital marketer as well. We need a graphic designer as well. We need person who would work with the community on ground as well. We would need people who will manage the whole project. So there is a lot of scope, but in most of the organization, because of the there is a less funding or anything, one person does 2 or 3 tasks. But yes, there is a lot of scope in the development sector, and with the CSR norms becoming strict, that you have to spend 2% of the CSR and everything like that. Even there are many NGOs who are now hiring proactively, because post COVID, there are many projects which have they have specified that they need dedicated manpower for these projects. And because of the fields like climate change and sustainability, ESG coming up, we need a specialized talent pool as well. We cannot just ask any BSW or MSW student to work on the change, or on the technical aspect, without them having a proper knowledge or a technical knowledge on the same. So in the NGO sector, there is a lot of scope. Yes, it is very difficult to find a right candidate, because they all come with a vision that I am free, let me do a job here for 6 months. That would be my social, you can say my social contribution to the society. This is what everyone is looking forward. But even in the NGOs, we are looking for a permanent employees. We have a long-term association with the employees, with a long-term association with all the people who are connected. Because first of all, we want them to understand that the NGO is not just supporting one cause; it is also a very crucial thing to bring a change. And for bringing a change, we cannot just have one or two employees coming each 6 months, because they won't then resonate with our cause, they won't connect with our cause, what the change we want to. And see, of course there is some limitations in the social development sector related to the salaries, or the pay structure. But more than that, what NGOs and the social development institutions, organizations are now looking is at giving them the satisfaction of working towards a greater cause. Okay, not doing a 9 to 5 job, but also working for a good, you can say a satisfaction, a smile on the face, that yes, you are doing something for the society. Of course, that will be rewarded, but over a period of time. So we see the challenges in terms that the any of the person would come and they would ask for a hefty salary. But as an organization, it is very difficult to pay those hefty salaries. But what we can, I assure, is to grow. Because if we have a good talent pool with us, we can create a good impact in the society, and with that impact, of course, we can grow. But such concepts still need to be understood by the people, by the employees, or the people looking for jobs. And if they are really passionate about doing social work, I won't say that salary does not matter. Of course it does matter, but over a period of time it will grow. And that is the basic challenge. Second challenge is that everyone wants overnight recognition for their works in the social development sector. That okay, I have done these things and I want and recognition. But that recognition of course comes, but it comes after you have proved that that impact, you have done your part. For example, I am a community manager and I do my part. Okay, I have done my whatever work was assigned to me, but has that really impacted the person with whom I was working? When that impact is shown, when is that impact is created, we can actually recognize. So that overnight recognition cannot come in time. And people every time wants that overnight recognition, because they have seen the corporate cultures, that okay, employee of the month, employee of the week, and everything. But in the NGO sectors, of course, that is very much difficult, because you are working for a long term change. And when you are working for a long term change, you have to get a mindset of doing all the things which वो कहते हैं ना, कर्म किए जा, फल की चिंता मत कर, फल भी मिलेगा. But we have to wait for some time. So these are some of the challenges with the social development sector has regarding the talent acquisition. But yes, what I have seen in the recent times, that people from all the spheres are coming in this sector, because they are saying that it has a scope. It has a scope of showing your creativity. We have seen the best of the best marketing campaigns for the NGOs, which were being designed by the amateur graphic designers or the amateur marketing people. So that really creates an impact, and they also get that confidence that yes, they can do good in storytelling thing or any other thing. So these are the challenges. But yes, this is a routine thing. Yeah, every organization in the world is facing the challenge of the talent. But yes, to retain that is our major focus, and that is what we all are doing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing so many challenges regarding that also. Could Sumaya ma'am, Avni ma'am, would you like to add something to it?
Yeah, I would like to add, like Krunal said, this is one of the pain point of an NGO, to find the right person in the organization. Because like he said, there are different, pain points as an NGO, that you have to raise funds to actually match the salary that they are, getting out of different sectors, not just in social sector, but also the kind of growth the social sector offers to a person is very different. I mean, like Avni said, people have to wear multiple hats, but also there are a lot of projects that they exposure that they will be working, in that particular environment, which also gives the satisfaction. But plus the kind of growth I have seen in people working in social sector is very different from the people working in corporate sector. They have, so what I practice as a person, I just want to share that uh, pe- to check whether the people are able to acknowledge themselves enough, whether what work they are doing. Start reflection circles in your team, which I started. Because of that, people start to write or share about that they have learned this much in your guidance, in your leadership. The more they will reflect on the work they are doing, or the more they acknowledge that this is the work they are doing and it has created an impact in the society, the more they will be able to understand the importance of the work they are doing. So if you so I started practicing it, and that's why people acknowledging it, okay, because of me I have created this impact in the society, because of me the children are able to create these lessons plans or something like that. So reflections circles in my team work really well.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing such thoughts. Okay, so can I move on to next question? Yeah, so my next question is to Avni, ma'am. So this is the last question of the day. So, ma'am, do you think nonprofits should spend their money and resources on the capacity building? Like, we are seeing now that nonprofits are slowly going towards internal restructuring and setting up different committees like that. And what are your thoughts on this? Like, about this? Yes.
So, as a lawyer, I completely agree that it's important to have a very large focus on the structuring of your organization and the way that you're building out verticals and building out teams and just the structuring of your, the different verticals that you create for your work and all of that. But I also want to point out that for a organization, I mean, even not just nonprofits, right? Even for startups, a lot of times when they're just starting out, the foundational priority is to work on the models that they're creating and how they're working out. And we often start on very small scales where our priority may not be to work out elaborate structures from the beginning or to have separate committees and very like clean cut divisions in terms of roles and all of that. So, I mean, just in terms of like my personal experience with Hum Honge Kamyab, right? We've been working for the past 2 years. And when we started out, it was a very small team that was working largely on a pro bono basis. And when you want to start out work, the fact that your organization isn't very well formed or that it isn't a very large team shouldn't in itself become an impediment to someone's, just wanting to start work in this area. But as we're growing now, we're, conversations and restructuring, reorganizing our different verticals for digital health in general outside of the one goal that we may have, two goals that we may have, working out how you can best work towards these goals as a cohesive team uh, is definitely important. And I mean, this is in no way to say that uh, you know, working with elaborate structuring and different committees is necessarily going to like a more corporate setup is necessarily going to make your work for profit. I believe that these levels of organizations are also important for internal dispute or conflict resolutions, or even just effective communication between the different verticals and the different hierarchies that your organization may or may not operate with. But at the same time, it may be a conversation that you want to have once you scale up, once you've become a larger organization. As a small scale organization, we want to work with that community spirit. We might not always want to scale up. We might want to, scale our impact in terms of the depth of change that we're causing in the small community that we may be working towards. So considering all of those factors, I think we need to acknowledge that a lot of times small scale NGOs work based on passion, work based on the models that they're working towards. And there they work as a more cohesive team that may not require the same kind of structuring that a corporate or large scale organization might have. But it's important to keep those in mind and to have effective communication from the beginning, so that as you scale up, you can consider these things and you can have those conversations as they're needed. But I would love to hear what thoughts are on these issues for people that work on a larger scale, and how important it becomes then to divide roles and have proper structuring in different committees.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. So, yeah, anybody wants to add on to this?
I want to add one thing. I think it's fine to, if you're a small team, to be a little bit unstructured. It's completely fine for 3-4 years to just explore what you're good at. I think when I started, we were very young and we hardly knew, the ecosystem of social entrepreneurship or, the nonprofit sector. But over the time, 3-4 years, we started recognizing our expertise slowly and slowly, and then based on that we started to take up roles and responsibility based out of the expertise that we have actually nurtured over the time. And I think for 4-5 years it's fine to be a little bit unstructured in that way, and slowly you will find, you will create, or based on your experiential learning, you will find create a better structure for the organization in the coming years. It's not really important in the initial years to just fix the roles of each person and each give it to particular responsibility, because it will be really hard to the other person to find the synergy. Maybe they are not comfortable in that particular role, or maybe they have different potential to explore. So I feel it's 4-5 years is like okay to have a little bit unstructured format.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing your thought. Krinal sir, would you like to add something here?
See, there is always a need of adding to the capacities of the team and the NGOs and the social development sector. I would agree. At the same time, because we are wearing different hats, it is always advisable for all of us to also understand that what challenges are there in the roles which we are playing at the different places, and what we need to do at different times. Because there is a different Kronal when he's working on the field, and he needs to be very sensible when he's talking to the communities or the beneficiaries with the marginal communities or vulnerable sections. When he's in the office, when he's doing a professional mail, he is a different Kronal. So in all these things, capacity building is necessary, because it eventually adds to your knowledge and your understanding, deeper understanding about how the social development sector is evolving. And of course it is evolving at a larger pace with technologies coming in, with new templates of the proposals or any other things, and even the new KPIs coming in, because every day when we talk with one or the other clients or anyone, they talk about different KPIs, and we certainly might not know about all those things. We might not know about each and every softwares which they are using. So in all these terms, the capacity building related, whether it can be the emotional capacity building, the social capacity building, the communication capacity building, each and every type of capacity building in this NGO sector is very much necessary. It is an ever growing process, and it is like you grow each and every day when you have different experiences, or whether on mail or on ground.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your thoughts there. Yeah. So as we are concluding this discussion, I would like to hear some closing thoughts about from each of you. So would you like to add anything, like closing opinions? We had a very enlightening and empowering discussion here, which I'm glad I'm being part of. So yeah, let's start with Sumaya, ma'am. Would you like to add a...
I really enjoyed the session. I really wanted more time to have conversation with these two people. So we have exchanged the numbers finally. So I think we will continue the conversation maybe in the text or in the email. Let's find the synergies between all of us. And I think I can relate to what Kunal and Avni has shared a lot. So, and we really need such discussion more often, I would say, to actually clear the doubts on our heads, and whatever we are facing, it's very common. Whatever challenges we are facing as founders are very common. So I think I love those discussion, offline as well.
I completely agree with that emotion. I think working together, especially as a social sector, we need to recognize the power of collaboration and working together. Because even if we're coming from different places, working on different causes, at the end of the day, we're working towards bettering the society, we're working towards equality, right? So coming together, sharing perspectives and what challenges other people might face, what are the opportunities stories provides, like these platforms, and builds these conversations from time to time.
Sir?
Yes, I believe that these conversations actually help us to understand that what good things other organizations are doing and everything. And apart from that, we are here to understand the pains of the communities and our beneficiaries. But okay, these conversations help us to understand the pain what an NGO and we, the founders and the co-founders, feel when we are running this organization. And we really need to think that when there are so many things to empower the startups and everything, there is a need to empower the NGOs and the social development professionals and organizations as well, because they are working for a better thing, for a better cause. And everyone, I guess, even the government needs to support all these things in whatever way they can. Yes.
Thank you, sir. So, as you all said, it is very important to have such discussion. Like when we address these issues, only the solutions will come up, right? So, we are also very glad to have these discussions with you all. So, yeah, thank you all for who have joined us watching this discussion. We hope we have empowered you all, and keep empowering. And thank you, each one of you, the panelists, for joining us today. It was a pleasure hosting this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting.
Thank you.
Thank you.